So this is a Q&A, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you guys have cues?
Yeah. They start with this gentleman usually. He's always here first, this guy.
First in line.
Hi.
Hi.
So my question for you is, do you have what do you think about what do you think is your favorite song from all the Sonic games you've been in? Because I know there's a lot of different songs and music in those games. Which one do you like?
This is going to sound maybe tried and kind of cheesy, but Live and Learn has always been my favorite.
Yeah.
It just has. It's just, there's nothing wrong with that song. It's just great.
Yeah.
So, I love other things. Everything else comes in a close second place, but Live and Learn is always top king in my book.
Yeah, for me, it's Escape from the City.
Good one.
That is that to me is like peak Sonic. Like you're just going through San Francisco.
That's a good driving song.
It is.
You could just peel through the
I ride my
neighborhood.
bike with it, so
yeah.
It's a good one. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How'd you book your role?
How did I book the role as Sonic?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. This is a story that some of you probably heard before, but I actually was just a plain old actor for a long time. I grew up doing theater. I grew up in a theater family. My brother and my mom were part-time actors. My dad was a director. So I kind of grew up doing theater because I thought that's what you did. I didn't really know any different.
Nice.
And it was kind of nice, but also a little bit weird when I found out other people did other things. Like I got my first friend in grade school who was like, "Do you want to play soccer?" And I'm like, "Okay, what's that?" So I had been doing theater my whole life, and I just kind of kept with it. So through high school, and then eventually I got my theater arts degree from Eastern Michigan University. Yay, Michigan. Anyone? No? Okay, good. Yay. And moved out to California because that's kind of what you do when you want to be a professional actor.
Yeah, move to the West.
Exactly. So I went to Southern California, and I got my very first talent agent, which is something that most professional actors do. They sign with an agency for representation. And my very first agent, her name is Carol Shaman-Freitas, and I think she still has the Shaman-Freitas agency. I should look her up. But she was the one who was actually like, "You have a really interesting voice. Do you ever think about doing voiceover?" And I said, "No." She said, "You should. I'm going to send you out for a few auditions. Let's see what happens." And this would have been 1996. So she sent me out for the first 5 things I auditioned for. And normally when you audition for things, and this goes for voiceover or for on camera or for any kind of professional acting thing, you have to audition approximately 50 times before you book one job. So it's a lot of auditioning before you book one thing. And so the first 5 things I auditioned for, I actually booked all 5 things. And that's not to say that I was great at it. I'm just saying that she was like, "You got to keep doing this because they're looking for you at this point in time. It's like, this is your time to do it." So I started doing voiceover auditions and doing jobs. And that was mostly legal copy at the ends of ads, sometimes television commercials, radio spots were big back then. This was 96, so this is pre-internet for those of you who celebrate. Yeah. So ended up doing that for about 3 years. And then the end of the story goes is that I was working for this company. Again, I have to look them up to see if they're still around. They're called Lightspan Partnership. And they did software for kids, basically for educational software. And I had been hired by them to do a game, I think it was called Secret of the Rings or something like that, which is kind of prophetic if you think about it. And I played the part of a turtle who did math problems. So I was this turtle, and I was going to teach kids how to multiply and that sort of thing. And this is how it happens in the business, by the way. The guy who ran that studio at that company, his name was Rick Bowman, and he was friends with a casting director named Lonnie Minella. And Lonnie Minella was friends with this guy who worked at Sega named Keith Palmer. So follow along if you can. Keith Palmer said to Lonnie Minella, the casting director, "Hey, we're going to, Sega, it's a big time for Sega. We're going to put out our very own platform. It's called the Dreamcast. It's going to be a big deal. We're going to reboot the whole Sonic franchise. It's going to be huge." He mentions that to the casting director. The casting director mentions it to the guy I'm working for and says, "Hey, did you hear Sega's going to put out their own platform? And how great is that?" And so forth. And so then when the auditions came around to audition for Sonic Adventure, the first game, he mentioned it to the casting director. The casting director mentioned it to the studio guy. And he famously said, "I'm working with this guy right now that does a turtle for me. I bet he could do a hedgehog for you." Ha ha. And so that's how I got invited to actually go to the audition, because it was an invite only kind of thing. Yeah, you couldn't just go. You had to be invited. And it was between me and about 50 other guys that night. And
It's like a string of connections.
yeah, it's really the butterfly effect, really. Like if any of those things had broken down or not been there, it wouldn't have happened this way. So I'm completely aware of that. There's a lot of chance and a lot of luck and involved in these sorts of things, and so that's why you have to be trained and you have to bring your A game at all times, because you never know when that moment is going to happen.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny to know how you were like a turtle, slow, and then you all of a sudden you just became like a character who's fast.
Yeah. And something we discovered just recently, and just kind of going on a side quest on that, is the fact that when I was in college at Eastern Michigan University, I was terrible at math. I mean, my math just does not work in my brain that way. Anyone else can feel that one? Yes. Okay, lots of you. But of course, you had to have a math credit to get the college degree. And so I took the easiest math class in college that I could, just so I could pass it, because I knew even the easiest class was going to be a challenge for me. And I worked as hard as I could, and I was failing this math class because I just couldn't get it. And I had tutors, I had the professor of the class helping me after class and all these things, and I just couldn't get a handle on it. And at the time, I was doing a production of Into the Woods, Stephen Sondheim, at my college, and I played the baker, which is a lead part. And so I was failing this math class. I was stressing out because I was like, I want to move to California, but I got to graduate from college before I can do that, and I need this math class to graduate. So luckily, this math professor, who I didn't really know, came and saw that production of Into the Woods. And the next time I came to her classroom, she pulled me aside and she said, I saw you in your show this last weekend. You are going to be an actor. You're not supposed to use math. You're going to be an actor. So I'm going to give you an incomplete, an I. Come in over the summer. You will not fail this class. I'll make sure you graduate on time. We'll figure it out, because you should graduate. You should move to California. You should do the damn thing. So basically is what she said.
That's awesome.
It is. And then the funny of it is the fact that math was the thing that almost prevented me from graduating college and moving to California. And math is what I was teaching those kids as a turtle when I got the role as Sonic the Hedgehog. How about them apples? Do you like apples? That's applesauce right there.
Love the answer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's way longer than you intended, but thank you.
No.
Since you really helped solidify the tone and personality of Sonic, starting from Adventure moving forward, I was wondering, when it was time for Jason, Ryan, Ben, even Dean Mack to take the mantle and provide the voice for the first role, the first game, were there times where they reached out to you and said, hey man, got pointers? I gotta make Sonic say this or act like this, and so, well, you're the first. I was wondering if you could provide some insight how Sonic should go about this.
Yeah.
Doing this.
Good question. No one's ever asked that before, and the answer is no. To have a simple question with a simple answer. If you listen to, and if you see an interview with Jason Griffith, he has said this publicly many times, so it's not like I'm telling you something that you wouldn't already know. But he was told when he got the job to do Sonic and Sonic X, his direction was sound like Ryan Drummond. And so when you watch the first few episodes of Sonic X, you can see that Jason Griffith is doing a me impersonation. And that's fine, because they were trying to make it kind of consistent between the video games and the cartoon. But then, as Jason grew with the voice, he started to get his own flavor. And then it became definitely Jason Griffith's take on the character. So he didn't need any pointers from me. He just tried to imitate me until he got his footing, and then he started doing his own thing. And Roger Craig Smith was a very well-established voice actor, so he didn't need any help from anything. And by the time you get to that, and Ben Schwartz, I mean, let's be honest, Ben is awesome, but also Ben basically does Ben Schwartz. He doesn't really do anything terribly different than his own natural voice and comic timing as the character. He kind of plays his own kind of self. And Devin Mack, also lots of experience, and by then he's got 20 years of stuff to listen to. So the answer is no. No one's ever reached out and was just like, how do I get that attitude, or how I get that? These are all really well-trained voice actors, and so they just dove in with their own skills and their own experience and made it their own.
Okay.
Which is great.
Great, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
What is one subtle detail about Sonic that you've learned about him while you voiced him that most people probably wouldn't know if they hadn't voiced him?
Oh my goodness. Wow. A subtle thing. Maybe it's not so subtle, but I never thought that the producers of the game would really try to put Japanese references in the American game. So I have been often asked through the years, like, what is Sonic saying when he goes, Teriyah? And it's Teriyah. That's what it is. It's teriyaki without the key.
Yes.
If you think about it. But yeah, that's something that I get asked a lot about that I thought was interesting. That they try and kind of put these things. Some of the other characters have them too, like little Japaneseisms that they threw in there, which are really fun.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What were your favorite lines from Adventure 1 and 2, if I may?
My favorite lines. You know, it's funny because, and someone just asked me this earlier, when you're actually recording the lines, they don't seem very fantastic because they don't have a life of their own, per se. You know, every line is you're in a booth and you're in front of a microphone and you have headphones on and you're performing the lines. And so the lines become iconic, or they become favorites because of how the Sonic community reacts to them. So my favorite lines are non-consequentially also your favorite lines. So those are the ones that I get asked to say over and over and over and over again. And I'd say from Sonic Adventure, the first one, have to be the first line.
Oh yeah, this is happening.
Got to have that one. And then for Sonic Adventure 2, you have to have that.
Talk about low-budget flights. No food or movies? I'm out of here. I like running better.
Those are the lines that they want to hear over and over again.
Yeah, realizing that now, it's awesome for you to for us to hear that.
Oh, thank you.
Every time.
27 years of practice. Keep practicing, kids. You'll get good at anything if you do it for 27 years.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
So I'm curious, when you were working on Sonic Heroes, did they have you do it? Did they direct you in a different way than they did Adventure 1 and 2, or was it a whole different team that was like directing you?
I wouldn't say they directed me. I would say it was almost a lack of direction, because by that time, myself and the rest of the team had been working for Sega for almost 6 years. And you can say what you will about Sega, but they were actually in the studio. They were actually really good at letting us give them input. Especially in Sonic Heroes. By the time we got to that point, I remember the representatives from Sega would say things like, "Okay, he's going to discover this, or he's going to run into this. How do you think he would feel about that? Or what do you think he would say when he does this?" And I'm not claiming that I had any sort of writing credit or that I got to, but I know that I came up with things in the booth on the spot when they were just like, okay, so this happens, give us a few lines. It's like, okay, I could say like this, or I could do this, or I could do this. And I know a few of those things that I just kind of came up with ended up in the game. I couldn't tell you which ones because it's all kind of a blur. And of course, like I said, 27 years ago. Well, Sonic Heroes is more like 21 years ago, but yeah, so I think they were actually pretty good at kind of giving us leeway to kind of voice the characters as we saw fit.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool, because that doesn't happen a lot. So good on Sega for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If you were to voice Sonic in Sonic Frontiers, how would you direct his voice?
If I were to voice Sonic in Sonic Frontiers, how would I direct his voice? Now, I might be biased, but I would try and make him sound a lot like me. Yeah, no, I one thing I really like about the different voices of Sonic, and now there's like, what, 6 of them, I guess? Is that right? Yeah. Jaleel, me, Jason, Roger, Devin, Ben. Am I forgetting anyone? As far as American voices go.
Like Jason, Ben.
I said Ben.
Sorry,
yeah,
Ben.
yeah, Ben was 6. So I think there's 6 of us, or so. If there's any I forget, then sorry. But the thing I really like about the 6 of us is that everybody kind of goes in the same kind of Sonic vein, but as soon as you hear somebody, that's me, or that's Jason, or that's Ben. Everybody has kind of a slight variance on a very fast blue theme. And so, yeah, I really like the fact that everybody can do something different. So depending on who would voice that game, I would just direct them to do exactly what they do. Maybe that's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's how I feel about it. Everyone's got their own kind of unique take on it, and I kind of dig that.
Did you really, after playing Sonic, did you expect the role to be so popular after 20 years, especially when the games has ended and like you're still doing panels and like autograph sessions? Did you expect it to be this big?
Really good question. And here's why. Because normally, well, not normally, but most of the time, I travel with the other voices from the games that I worked on. So the two being primarily Scott Dreyer, the original voice of Knuckles, and David Humphrey, the original voice of Shadow the Hedgehog. And whenever we come to a panel like this, the three of us, somebody always asks a similar question. Like, did you have any idea it was going to be the way it was? And I always say, not even a little bit. And Scott Dreyer, the voice of Knuckles, always says, I knew from the first day I walked in the studio it was going to be bigger than I ever could imagine. So I don't know what's the difference, because Scott and I are pretty much the same person. We actually kind of look alike and sound alike and have the same mannerisms and the same parents. No, I'm kidding, not that one. But we had such different views of what this was going to be. Like literally when they called and said, do you want to be Sonic the Hedgehog? I was like, okay. Because I thought, okay, it'll be a video game. I had done video games before, and that's usually about a week, sometimes 2 weeks in the studio to record all the sound files that you need for the game. And so I kind of thought to myself, okay, that's good. That'll be about a week of work. And that's really how I thought it was going to be. I had no idea that it would turn into multiple games and, talking toys and commercials and television spots and all these different things. I had absolutely no idea. And the fact that we are sitting here 27 years later still talking about it just blows my mind on a daily basis. It really does. Yeah.
Thank you.
But if you ask Scott, he'll be like, oh, yeah, I knew it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do you ever get noticed as like in a commercial, like, hey, are you the Sonic guy? Do they ever ask you that?
Who's they?
Like anybody working on the commercial or like other people on the commercial. Do they ever say, hey, aren't you the guy that does the Sonic voice?
It's funny you should bring it up. It's actually not usually. Actually not usually. Somebody make me a T-shirt that says that. It's actually not usually a surprise kind of thing. Like, hey, aren't you the... But what does happen is like I was just saying, the people who were like kids are now adults that played the games in their heyday are now adults. And so, like, for example, this just happened. This happens quite a bit, but here's an example. Like right before the pandemic, I was doing a commercial for Petco. And I don't know if you remember, they had this campaign that was called Petco, Where the Pets Go.
That was around for so long. I remember that.
Exactly, right? It's in there somewhere.
Was that you?
A lot of it was me, yeah. And so,
I remember that. That's like a nostalgic.
So the thing is that I walk into the studio and there's this big biker dude who's the engineer, big guy with like the vest and the beard and the mean look and all that. And I was just like, this is a cool looking sound engineer. Okay, so I get in the booth and I'm doing the Petco lines and so forth. And right at the end of it, he was like, all right, I think we got it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he was like, but wait a minute, before you come out, do you think you could do my voicemail greeting as Sonic? the point I'm trying to make is like the whole Sonic credit actually helps me get other jobs because the people that were kids playing the games that I worked on are now adults and they're in charge of ad agencies. They're in charge of studios. They maybe work for a talent agent. Maybe they work for a casting office. You never know. So it's more of a kind of a helpful thing than a surprise thing.
That's cool. Thank you. I mean, again, and thank you for putting that, because I always remember, because that Petco, Where the Pets Go, is such a long-lasting thing.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting that in my head.
Yeah, you're welcome. And now it will never leave. You're welcome.
Petco, where Sonic goes.
That's right. We should cross over.
What's your favorite non-games piece of Sonic media? It could be like shows, movies, comics.
But not a video game?
Yeah.
Wow. There's so much. I mean, this might sound cheesy too, but I just love the movies. I think the movies are great. And I didn't have high hopes for them. I kind of thought it's easy to ruin, right?
Yeah.
And when Paramount came out with Nightmare Sonic,
oh gosh,
But I don't know if you guys realize what an amazing thing that was. Because for those of you who missed the story or living under a boulder or something, Paramount came out with this preview version of the Sonic character, which was terrifying. Is that fair to say?
Freakishly terrifying.
Freakishly terrifying. That's even better.
So bad.
I mean, the pointy teeth and the evil eyes, and it was just nuts. But the point I'm trying to make is that Sega has always been, in my opinion only, not very good at listening to the fan base. But there's reason for that, because I feel like Sega has always thought that everyone has a different opinion. You're never going to please everybody, so go with what you think is the best. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. So when that design came out, I was like, this is it. They're going to tank this whole thing.
Yeah.
All my nightmares are coming true right now. And they're going to charge me $10.50 to go watch it.
Yep.
Not fair. And it was like, I was just like, it's over before it begins, because it was so bad, right? But then we all revolted. And we all wrote in, and we were just like, yo, Sega, yo, Paramount, what are you doing? This is not our boy. This is not what he looks like. Yeah. And I don't know if we all realize how amazing it is that they listened. They are legendary for not listening. But the fact that they were like, and not only that, but they were kind of meek about it. They were kind of like, our bad, sorry, we're going to take this back. Give us 3 months. We're going to rework it, and we'll see you again in a little bit. And the fact that they actually did that because of the pressure that they got from all of you is nothing short of a small miracle. It really is.
Yeah.
And it worked, because then they did so much better. And I don't know if you guys heard, but the third movie made over $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah.
That's with a B, billion. Yeah. That's a lot.
Definitely to see it.
Which basically guarantees the fourth movie, and probably the fifth and the sixth.
Yep.
Yeah. So what was the question?
Favorite non-game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The movies. That's why we're talking about the movies.
Yeah. For me, it's Sonic X. That's actually what got me into Sonic, and then I got into
Also a
the
good
games.
one.
Yeah, that was a great one.
And you know what's kind of funny about that is that before Jason Griffith and I became friends, which was not too long ago, just because we didn't. He lived in New York and I lived in California, and we never met. But we had some interactions online, so it wasn't like we weren't friends, but we weren't friends. But we had been groomed by social media, let's just call it like it is, into thinking that everybody was either a Ryan Drummond era fan or a Jason Griffith era fan. And we didn't know until a few years ago that Jason and I happened to be at Sonic Revolution in Los Angeles together, and we had tables next to each other. And we were just like, first of all, it was the first time I'd met him in real life. So it was just like, what is up? It's good to finally meet you. And it was very, very cool. But then when they opened the doors and people came in, we were absolutely blown away by the amount of people that went to my table first and was like, I grew up playing your games. And then they went right next door to Jason's table and said, I grew up watching Sonic X. And there were so many people, hundreds of people, that grew up in both eras playing my games and watching his cartoon. And we, until that day, we did not realize that there's so much crossover between the eras. And you don't have to be a Ryan Drummond fan or a Jason Griffith fan or a Roger Craig Smith fan or whatever. You can be a fan of all of them, and most people are.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a fan. Ironically, it would be I would go to his table and be like, I grew up on yours, and then go to yours and be like, oh, I got into yours.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
So kind of the reverse of it.
Yeah, and I mean, Sonic is Sonic.
Yeah,
and that's great. You know. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
What is your opinion on the? I want to say it's like a latest show, but Sonic Boom. If you or your son have watched it.
Yeah, I did watch some of Sonic Boom. I enjoyed it. It didn't change my life or anything like that, but I thought it was fun. I've probably met I'd say it's probably split right down the middle. Like half the people that I talk to about it are like, oh, I really like that, Sonic Boom. And, but the other half are like, it was okay. I'm kind of right in between the two.
Same with me. When the first time I saw it, I'm like, okay, it's kind of remind me of Gen Z humor.
Exactly.
Somewhat.
Exactly. Well said. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, it is kind of Gen Z humor kind of vibe. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know that you're part of Sonic R, which is like a YouTube series made by Emu Emmy on YouTube.
Sonic and Tails R.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I really loved you in it.
Thanks.
I was wondering because like when they released the bloopers for that and stuff, it seemed like you all had like a really fun time.
Yeah.
I was wondering, well, how was the voice acting experience there, would you say? And what are some of your favorite lines that didn't make it?
Oh, boy. If they didn't make it, I probably don't know what they are. That was mostly during the pandemic, the making of that. So everybody did all their lines from home. And so it really wasn't too far removed from an actual professional setting, because usually you go into a studio by yourself, go into a room by yourself, and perform for a microphone. And so that's exactly what we did for Sonic and Tails R, except that we were all in our homes, getting locked in from the...
To at least interact with each other or anything?
I mean, we did over Discord. Everything was kind of recorded that way. Everyone kind of communicated through Discord, and we recorded probably 3 to 5 takes of each line. And then Emmy and Dorian Nelson, the writers of the series, would kind of pick whichever one they thought was the best. You'd send all your stuff in. So every line had 3 to 5 readings, and you send it all in on a file, and then they would go through and pick which ones they liked the best. And then you would have to wait till the episode came out on YouTube to find out which ones made the cut.
I loved watching it while it was coming out right there. It was great hearing you again.
Yeah, oh, thanks, yeah. Plus, what was so fun about that is I traditionally never get to work with Jason Griffith. Traditionally, I don't get to work with Mike Pollock.
That was your first time, actually?
Yeah, it was. That we actually worked on a project together.
Was that before or after you guys became friends?
It was after.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been friends for a while now. But it was cool to actually, do that with him. And also get to work with Mike Pollock. When I was doing the games, the late great Dean Bristow was the voice of Eggman, and so when Dean passed away, that's when Mike took over, and he's been there ever since. But I never got to work with him before either, so that was really fun. Just to and of course the scripts were fun and the stories were fun and all that, and it was something to do during the pandemic, which kind of kept us all on our toes. But being able to work with the people that I hadn't been able to work with before was really a treat.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you ever seen or come across any of these Sonic fan dubs that are on like YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I've seen a little bit of Brain Rot, a little bit of the Hypercube stuff. You know what it is? I have a 14-year-old son, and he has his kind of finger on the pulse of YouTube funny things because he's of the TikTok generation, of which I am not. And so he will often find things that he thinks are funny. And luckily, since he has some of my DNA, he the things that he finds funny are also things that I find funny. So he'll usually send me, "Have you seen this one, Dad? You have to watch this one." And so then I'll watch it. And so I don't watch them all, but I watch the ones that my son deems funny enough for me to watch.
That's funny.
And usually they are really funny. I got asked that earlier. You're like, are you ever offended by people who imitate your voice and say these awful things or whatever? And I said, not if it's funny. If it's funny, you can do whatever you want. If it's not funny, then I'm like, come on, guys. Yeah. But yeah, cool. A lot of it very, very fun.
Does Knuckles crack you up as much as he cracks me up?
Absolutely. Yeah, Knuckles is hysterical. Yeah, doesn't matter who's voicing him. Yeah, absolutely makes me laugh. What's your favorite Knuckles line?
Maybe the second movie when he just hits the ball across the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
The end of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Knuckles hilarious, and also of course Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey makes me laugh constantly.
Who do you think would win in a fight, Sonic or Goku? Sonic or Mario? For some
Sonic
reason,
or
I thought
Mario?
Goku.
Am I missing? Does Mario have a superpower that I don't know about? Superstar?
Yeah.
The fire, the hammer.
Superstar seems kind of unfair.
No, I think Sonic's got him beat.
Tanuki flight suit.
There's no way a chili dog eating hedgehog is going to lose to a plumber. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. No. I know I'm biased. I know. But no, Sonic. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Thank you. Yay. See, they all agree with you.
You mentioned earlier that your agent told you had a unique voice.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it takes a unique voice to become a voice actor?
No.
All right. Well, thank you.
No, no, it doesn't. Because especially nowadays, I'd say probably 3/4 of the breakdowns that I get for different auditions say no voice actors. We want real people. And what they're asking for is really voice actors who can sound like real people, because they don't want to hire non-actors to do an acting job. They want an actor, but they want somebody who sounds like a real person. So this is a question I actually get asked a lot, which is how do I get into voiceovers, is usually how the question goes. But the answer is similar. Especially nowadays, games are more like miniature movies than they ever have before, and there's no chance they're going to go back the other way. So when we started doing games, it was mostly what they call emotives, which is you're running along, you usually have some sort of exclamation like, yeah, and then you take some damage, something hits you and you go, ugh, or something like that. And that's kind of the way it was. And then starting with these new platforms, when the technology caught up and got lots and lots better, they had all this file room for making cut scenes in between battle scenes, in between journey scenes. And the characters talk, and they develop these characters, and they have wants and needs, and they have challenges to overcome. And all those things require dialogue. So to think of a video game as kind of a simple form of, well, just some emotives and that's it, it's really a disservice. It's more like shooting a movie with just your voice. So what the casting directors are looking for nowadays, far more than someone who can do a bunch of voices or has an interesting voice or a pleasant voice, they're usually looking for actors who can make a script sound real. That's the most important thing, is that they're looking for somebody who can take a script that person did not write, and they can read it and perform it to make it sound like they're coming up with it on the spot. Like you can tell, like even people who aren't actors can tell this. This is uncanny valley we have in our heads, that you know when somebody's reciting something to you rather than just talking to you. Like I hope you can tell that I'm just talking to you. I'm not reciting a speech or something like that. But if you go see like stand-up comedians, there's really brilliant ones like, say, Dave Chappelle or Patton Oswalt that just kind of riff on things and they come up with stuff in the moment. They're just funny guys who do that. But you see other stand-up comedians that, in my opinion, are much less funny, that get up there and they perform jokes and they recite jokes. And you can just tell. You can just tell that they've said that joke 1,000 times. So getting back to my original point, what casting directors are looking for are basically actors who can do voices rather than voice actors who act. So if anyone here is thinking about wanting to get into the voiceover world, probably the best thing you can do is to start taking acting classes now and to really work on the acting part of it. Really figure out what makes a script real, what makes it sound real, what makes it sound not polished, not actory, make it sound like a real person talking. Those are the kind of things that are gonna serve you. Now, on top of that, I will add that being able to know what your voice can do is also really important. And if you think about that in a money sense, always think about it in a money sense. Where does it save money and how does it make money? Because that's how all decisions are made, not just in showbiz. But if you have 10 parts in a video game, you could hire 10 people. Or you could hire 2 people that do 5 voices each. So which is a producer going to want to do? Pay 10 people or pay 2 people? It's way cheaper to hire the 2 people who are really good and can do 5 distinct voices each. So learning what your voice can do and of course getting familiar with accents, maybe you have some accent in your bloodline that you can pull out. Maybe you have a little bit of this nationality or that nationality, and so these accents come natural to you. Maybe your grandparents spoke with an accent and you can pull that up at will. Having those sorts of skills, important. Not as important as being a really good actor who can get in there and do everything right the first time and be the best that they can be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the Sonic Symphony?
I've only watched clips on YouTube, and this pains me because we do a lot of these conventions where we're traveling a lot. Usually every weekend we're in a different state somewhere. So whenever the Sonic Symphony has come to somewhere where I am, I'm always not there. We've never crossed paths. But one of these days I'm going to see it because I've seen the YouTube clips. It looks like a huge party. It looks so fun. So I can't wait for the day that it's actually going to happen. Yeah. And I hope they keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you ever listen to the Sonic soundtracks?
I don't, like on the regular, I don't. But I do like them and I do appreciate them. But I'm a born and bred heavy metal guy. I always have been ever since I was a little kid. And I saw The Looks That Kill by Motley Crue. Yeah, right? All bow down. So anytime I listen to music, I like almost every kind of music except country. Sorry, I'm not a huge country fan. I like it a little bit more now. But I'm a metal guy, like through and through. So that's always what I'm listening to.
Okay.
Slayer hasn't left my car in years. So, yeah.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Right. Oh my gosh, did we come to the end?
I'm afraid we're at that point there.
We did.
Thank you so much, everybody. Give a big round of applause for Ryan.
Thank you.
You're still here for the rest of the day, yeah?
Yes.
Head back down to your
Thanks for
table.
mentioning. Yeah, I'm going to be at my table from now until 5. I guess we're closing down at 5, or that's when they tell us they're going to kick us out of the building. So if you want to come say hi, come to my table. I'll be there.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.